Friends, if you want to watch super hit movie Coco in English, then you must like this video. If you're visiting our channel for the first time, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Friends, in today's video, the movie we're going to talk about is called Coco. We will talk about what this movie is and where you can watch it. All the interesting facts about this movie in today's video. I am going to tell you. I am also going to give you all the information on which platform or on which satellite channel you will get to watch this movie. Also, we will talk in detail about the technical department, music department, pre-production, filming, post-production, budget, box office collection of this film. We will also talk about the story of this film, and I will also give you a small review of the story of this film. Apart from this, we will discuss about the facts of this film's storyline, starcast actors' performance in the film, and which character has played which role. That's why I request you friends to watch this video till the end. So let's start the video. Coco is a 2017 American animated fantasy comedy drama film produced by Pixar Animation Studios and released by Walt Disney Pictures. It was directed by Unkrich, co-directed by Adrian Molina, and produced by Darla K. Anderson, from a screenplay written by Molina and Matthew Aldrich, and a story by Unkrich, Molina, Aldrich, and Jason Katz, based on an original idea conceived by Unkrich. The film stars the voices of Anthony Gonzalez, Gael García Bernal, Benjamin Bratt, Alana Ubach, Renee Victor, Anna Ofelia Murguia, and Edward James Olmos. The story follows a 12-year-old boy named Miguel Gonzalez, who is accidentally transported to the land of the dead, where he seeks the help of his deceased musician, great-great-grandfather, to return him to his family and reverse their ban on music. The concept for Coco is inspired by the Mexican holiday Day of the Dead. Pixar began developing the animation in 2016. Unkrich, Molina, Anderson, and some of the film's crew visited Mexico for research. Composer Michael Giacchino, who had worked on prior Pixar animated features, composed the score. With a cost of $175 to $225 million, Coco is the first film with a 9-figure budget to feature an all-Latino principal cast. Coco premiered on October 20, 2017, during the Morelia International Film Festival in Morelia, Mexico. It was theatrically released in Mexico the following week, the weekend before Dia de Muertos, and in the United States on November 22, 2017. The film received acclaim for its animation, voice acting, music, visuals, emotional story, and respect for Mexican culture. It grossed over $814 million worldwide, becoming the 15th highest-grossing animated film ever at the time of its release. Coco received 2 awards at the 90th Academy Awards and numerous other accolades. The film was chosen by the National Board of Review as the Best Animated Film of 2017. Plot: in the Mexican town of Santa Cecilia, a young woman named Imelda marries a man who eventually leaves her and their daughter Coco to pursue a music career. When he never returns, Imelda bans music from her family and opens a shoemaking business. Decades later, Imelda's great-great-grandson Miguel lives in the family home with his parents and relatives, including an elderly and ailing Coco. Despite the family's continued ban on music, Miguel secretly loves it. He teaches himself to play guitar by watching videos of his idol, the late musician Ernesto de la Cruz. On the Day of the Dead, Miguel inadvertently budges the family ofrenda. He breaks a frame containing a photo of Imelda and an infant Coco. He discovers a hidden section of the photograph that shows his great-great-grandfather, whose head has been torn from the photo, holding Ernesto's famous guitar. Believing this proves Ernesto is his relative, Miguel excitedly tells his family about his musical aspirations. In response, Miguel's grandmother destroys his guitar. Distraught, Miguel breaks into Ernesto's mausoleum and takes his guitar to use in a local talent competition. Once Miguel strums it, he becomes invisible to all living people. However, he can interact with his skeletal dead relatives, who are visiting from the land of the dead for the holiday. Taking him back with them, they realize Imelda cannot cross over since Miguel removed her photo from the ofrenda. Miguel also discovers that he has been cursed for stealing from the dead. He must receive a family blessing to return to the living world before sunrise, or he will remain in the land of the dead forever. Imelda offers him a blessing on the condition that he abandons music, but Miguel refuses it and seeks Ernesto's blessing instead. Miguel encounters Hector, a down-on-his-luck skeleton who once performed with Ernesto. Hector offers to bring Miguel to Ernesto in exchange for Miguel placing his photo on an ofrenda so he can visit his daughter before she forgets him, which would cause him to fade from existence, a fate which Miguel witnesses occur to Hector's friend Chicharron. Hector helps Miguel perform in a talent competition to win entry to Ernesto's mansion, but Miguel flees after being discovered by his family. Miguel sneaks into Ernesto's mansion and is welcomed by a surprised Ernesto. Hector later shows up and accuses Ernesto of stealing his songs. As the two argue, Miguel slowly pieces together the truth. Ernesto and Hector were once a musical act on the brink of fame until Hector grew homesick and tried to leave. Unable to write his own songs, Ernesto poisoned Hector and stole his guitar and songs to pass off as his own. To protect his legacy, Ernesto seizes Hector's photo and has Miguel and Hector thrown into a cenote pit. There, Miguel discovers that Hector is his great-great-grandfather and that Coco is Hector's daughter. After being rescued by his family, Miguel reveals the truth about Hector's death, and Imelda and Hector reconcile. The family infiltrates Ernesto's concert to retrieve Hector's photo. Ernesto's crimes are exposed to the audience, who quickly turn on him, and he is crushed by a falling bell, mirroring his fate in life. However, Hector's photograph is lost in the chaos. Imelda and a fading Hector bless Miguel as the sun rises, sending him back to the living world. Back home, Miguel apologizes to his family for running away. He plays Remember Me on Hector's guitar, brightening Coco to sing with him. She shares that she kept the torn piece of the photo with Hector's face, then tells her family stories about her father, preserving his memory and existence in the land of the dead. Miguel reconciles with his family, ending the ban on music. 1 year later, Miguel shows his new baby sister Socorro, the family ofrenda, now displaying photos of Hector and the recently deceased Coco. Coco's collected letters from Hector prove Ernesto's theft of his songs, leading to Ernesto's disgrace and Hector's rightful recognition. In the land of the dead, Hector joins Imelda, Coco, and their family to visit the living world. Miguel performs a heartfelt song for his living and dead relatives. Voice cast Anthony Gonzalez as Miguel, a 12-year-old aspiring musician. Gael García Bernal as Hector, a charming trickster and Miguel's great-great-grandfather in the land of the dead who enlists Miguel to help him visit the land of the living. Bernal reprised his role in the Spanish-language dub of the movie. Benjamin Bratt as Ernesto de la Cruz, the most famous musician in the history of Mexico, and Miguel's idol. Revered by fans worldwide until his untimely death, the charming and charismatic musician is even more beloved in the land of the dead. However, later in the film, he is revealed to be a sneaky, murderous fraud who poisoned Hector to steal his songs and pass them off as his own. Antonio Sol provides De La Cruz's singing voice, with the exception of Remember Me. Alana Ubach as Mama Imelda, Miguel's late great-great-grandmother, Hector's wife, Coco's mother and the matriarch of the family. Renee Victor as Abuelita, Coco's daughter and Miguel's grandmother, who strictly enforces the Rivera family's music ban. Ana Ofelia Murguia as Mama Coco, Miguel's great-grandmother and the daughter of Hector and Imelda, who moves around in a wheelchair. Libertad Garcia Fonzi as a young Coco. Edward James Olmos as Chicharron, a friend of Hector's who becomes forgotten in the land of the dead. Alfonso Arau as Papa Julio, Coco's late husband and Miguel's late great-grandfather. Arau reprised his role in the Spanish-language dub of the film. Celine Luna as Tia Rosita, Miguel's late aunt and Coco's sister-in-law. Diana Ortelli as Tia Victoria, Miguel's late aunt, Coco and Julio's daughter, and Abuelita's sister. Herbert Siguenza as Tios Oscar and Felipe, Miguel's late identical twin uncles. Jaime Camille as Papa, Miguel's father and Abuelita's son. Sofia Espinosa as Mama, Miguel's mother. Espinosa reprised her role in the Spanish-language dub of the film. Luis Valdez as Tio Berto, Miguel's uncle, Papa's brother, and Franco and Abuelita's son. Valdez also voices Don Hidalgo, a co-starring fictional character in a film Ernesto was the star of. Valdez reprised the role of Tio Berto in the Spanish-language dub of the film. Carla Medina as Gloria, Miguel's aunt, Papa's sister, and Franco and Abuelita's daughter. Medina also voices a departure agent. Medina reprised the role of a departure agent in the Spanish-language dub of the film. Polo Rojas as Abel, Berto and Carmen's oldest son, and Miguel's cousin. Montse Hernandez as Rosa, Berto and Carmen's daughter and Miguel's cousin. Lombardo Boyar as Plaza Mariachi, a mariachi whom Miguel meets in Santa Cecilia Plaza. Boyar also voices Gustavo, a musician of the Land of the Dead. Octavio Solis as a rival agent, Gabriel Iglesias as clerk, Cheech Marin as corrections officer, Blanca Araceli as MC. Natalia Cordova Buckley as Frida Kahlo, a famous artist. Salvador Reyes as a security guard. Reyes reprised his role in the Spanish-language dub of the film. John Ratzenberger as Juan Ortodoncia, whose dentist puts his picture on an ofrenda. Emilio Fuentes, uncredited, as concert stagehand. Fuentes was the original voice of Miguel during pre-production. The animal characters Dante and Pepita are alebrijes, spirit guides in this film. Dante is a soloite squeenplay with bird-like wings in his alebrije form. Pepita is a cat whose alebrije form gives her the head, torso, and front paws of a jaguar, the horns of a ram, the wings and hind legs of an eagle, and the tail of an iguana. Production development. Lee Unkrich first pitched an idea for the film in 2010, when Toy Story 3, which he also directed, was released. Initially, the film was to be about an American child learning about his Mexican heritage, while dealing with the death of his mother. Eventually, the team decided that this was the wrong approach and reformed the film to focus on a Mexican child instead. Of the original version, Unkrich noted that it reflected the fact that none of us at the time were from Mexico. The fact that the film depicted a real culture caused anxiety for Unkrich, who felt an enormous responsibility on his shoulders to do it right. The Pixar team made several trips to Mexico to help define the characters and story of Coco. Unkrich said, "I'd seen it portrayed in folk art. There was something about the juxtaposition of skeletons with bright, festive colors that captured my imagination. It has led me down a winding path of discovery, and the more I learn about El Dia de los Muertos, the more it affects me deeply." The team found it difficult working with skeletal creatures as they lacked any muscular system, and as such had to be animated differently from their human counterparts. Coco also took inspiration from Hayao Miyazaki's anime films Spirited Away, 2001, and Howl's Moving Castle, 2004, as well as the action film John Wick, 2014. In 2013, Disney requested to trademark the phrase Dia de los Muertos for merchandising applications. This was met with criticism from the Mexican-American community in the United States. Lalo Alcaraz, a Mexican-American cartoonist, drew a film poster titled Muerto Mouse, depicting a skeletal Godzilla-sized Mickey Mouse, with the byline, "It's coming to trademark your cultura." More than 21,000 people signed a petition on change.org stating that the trademark was cultural appropriation and exploitation at its worst. A week later, Disney canceled the attempt, with the official statement saying that the trademark filing was intended to protect any title for our film and related activities. It has since been determined that the title of the film will change, and therefore we are withdrawing our trademark filing. In 2015, Pixar hired Alcaraz to consult on the film, joining playwright Octavio Solis and former CEO of the Mexican Heritage Corp., Marcela Davison Aviles, to form a cultural consultant group. Story Unkrich found writing the script the toughest nut to crack. 30. Earlier versions of the film had different universe rules regarding how Miguel, originally called Marco, would get back from the Land of the Dead. In one case, he physically had to run across the bridge. In one version of the story, his family is cursed with singing when trying to speak, which was included as a technique to add music to a story where music is banned. Casting Coco is the first motion picture with a 9-figure budget to feature an all-Latino cast, with a cost of $175 to $200 million. Gonzalez first auditioned for the role of Miguel when he was 9 and was finalized in the role 2 years later. Speaking of his character, Gonzalez said, "Miguel and I both know the importance of following our dream, and we know the importance of following our tradition, so that's something that I connected with Miguel a lot." During the film's pre-production, Miguel was originally set to be voiced by a child named Emilio Fuentes, who was removed from the role after his voice deepened due to puberty throughout the film's production. In 2016, the Coco team made an official announcement about the cast, which revealed that Gael García Bernal, Benjamin Bratt, Renee Victor, and Anthony Gonzalez would voice the characters. Bratt, who voiced Dela Cruz, was moved when he realized that Disney Pixar wanted to make a film on Latin culture. Disney officials closely monitored Bernal's movements and expressions while he voiced the characters and used their input for animating. Hector Bratt voiced Ernesto de la Cruz, a character who he described as the Mexican Frank Sinatra, a larger-than-life persona. On the advice of the filmmakers, Bratt watched videos of equivalent Mexican actors including Jorge Negrete and Pedro Infante. Bratt found the character similar to his father in physical appearance, swagger and confidence, and worked in the film as a tribute to him. The character Mama Imelda's voice was provided by Alana Ubach. Ubach said that the film is giving respect to one quality that all Latin families across the universe do have in common, and that is giving respect and prioritizing the importance of family. Mama Imelda's voice was influenced by Ubach's tia Flora, who was a profound influence in her life. Ubach said her tia was the family's matriarch and dedicated the film to her. A cameo appearance was made by Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. actress Natalia Cordova-Buckley as Mexican artist Frida Kahlo. Unkrich stated that Cordova-Buckley's role in Coco pays homage to Ms. Kahlo, her work, and the people of Mexico who love her. Unkrich also stated that it was a struggle to find a role in the film for John Ratzenberger, who is not Latino but had voiced a character in every Pixar feature film. As Unkrich did not want to break Pixar's tradition, Ratzenberger was given a minor role with one word. Animation. On April 13, 2016, Unkrich announced that they had begun work on the animation. The film's writer, Adrian Molina, was promoted to co-director in late 2016. Unkrich said that Pixar wanted to have as much contrast between the land of the living and the land of the dead, and that many techniques were used to differentiate the worlds. Color was one. Given the holiday and the iconography, Pixar knew the land of the dead had to be a visually vibrant and colorful place, so they deliberately designed Santa Cecilia to be more muted, said Unkrich. According to Harley Jessup, the film's production designer, Santa Cecilia is based on real Mexican villages, as the production team stayed grounded in reality in the land of the living. Chris Bernardi, the film's set supervisor, said that the town was made small so Miguel could feel confined. Bert Berry, the film's art director, said that aged building materials were used to depict Santa Cecilia as an older, charming city. According to Unkrich, Miguel's guitar playing is authentic, as they videotaped musicians playing each song or melody and strapped GoPros on their guitars to use as a reference. For the scene in which Miguel plays music in his secret hideout, the filmmakers used very elegant lyrical camera moves and gentle drifts and slow arcing moves around Miguel as he plays his guitar with very shallow depth of field to enhance the beauty of the soft focus foreground candles. Christian Hoffman, the film's character supervisor, said that all of the details in Mama Coco's face were not modeled. Instead, his team used special software to design separate layers of detail, which were then added to her face with a shader. The character's model was made with higher resolution to get all the wrinkles right, according to Hoffman. Pixar used some Zolo dogs as a reference for the character Dante, while a tentacle from Finding Dory's Hank was used for his tongue. Jessup called the marigold petal bridge that connects both worlds elegant and magical. Michael K. O'Brien, the film's effects supervisor, called it a huge technical challenge for the animation team, but referred to it as something so visually exciting with petals dripping from it. It was a massive artistic undertaking. The production team wanted it to glow, to feel alive. The scenes in which Miguel takes a few petals off of the bridge and in which Hector sinks into the bridge were given more effects and special art direction. For the Land of the Dead, Unkrich did not want to have just a free-for-all, wacky world, wanting instead to add logic and be ever-expanding because new residents would arrive regularly. Jessup said that the animation team wanted the Land of the Dead to be a vibrant explosion of color when Miguel arrived. Jessup also said that Unkrich described a vertical world of towers, contrasting with the flatness of Santa Cecilia. The lights and reflections are dazzling, and there's a crazy transportation system that connects it all. The costume colors are much more vibrant than in the Land of the Living, where the animation team tried to stay grounded in reality. They really went all out in the land of the dead to make it a reflection of the holiday. According to David Rue, the film's supervising technical director, the animation team figured out a way to introduce a single light, but give it 1,000,000 points for the scenes on the outside in the land of the dead. The renderer sees it as one light, but we see 1,000,000 lights. According to art director Daniel Arega, the animators had to figure out how to give the skeletons personality without skin, muscles, noses, or even lips, and that they played with shapes and did a lot of paintings. They sculpted and studied skulls from every angle to figure out where they could add appeal and charm. Global technology supervisor J.D. Northrup was hired early in the film's production to avoid potential issues in the film's animation process. Northrup said, "Each of the skeleton's pieces had to be independent, so the complexity of the rig and the stress that it puts on the pipeline were something like we've never seen before." Northrup was also tasked with simplifying the skeleton's elements to render the skeleton crowds. To create the skeletons, several additional controls were used, as they needed to move in ways that humans don't, according to character modeling and articulation lead Michael Hans. Hans said that the bones were a particular problem, stating that there was a lot of back and forth with animation to get it right, but found really cool ways to move the skeletons. Music and soundtrack. Main article, Coco, soundtrack, marketing and release. The first teaser of Coco was released on March 15, 2017. The teaser trailer introduced the basic concept of the film while highlighting its focus on music. 45. Scott Mendelson of Forbes praised the trailer as a terrific old-school Pixar sell, mostly consisting of a single sequence and offering just the barest hint of what's to come. The film's themes and imagery drew comparison to another animated film that centered around El Dia de los Muertos, The Book of Life, 2014. A 2-minute short film, titled Dante's Lunch, A Short Tale, was released online on March 29, 2017. It introduces the film's supporting character, a Xoloitzcuintle named Dante. The short was created early in the animation process by Unkrich and his team to have a better sense of the character. The first official trailer was released on June 7, 2017, followed by a second trailer on September 13. The film was marketed extensively in Mexico, including traditional wall-painted advertising usually used for local events and never for films. Cinepolis, a movie chain in the country, held a contest for dubbing a character in the film, and another movie chain held a contest to become an interviewer for the cast and crew of the film. Coco premiered on October 27, 2017, at the Morelia International Film Festival. It was released in the United States on November 22 in 3D. The film was initially scheduled for release on June 17, 2016, but was later pushed back to November 22, 2017. In theaters, the film was accompanied by Walt Disney Animation Studios' 21-minute featurette Olaf's Frozen Adventure as a limited-time offering, making Coco the first Pixar film not to be accompanied by a Pixar short since Toy Story, 1995. The film also has its own VR game, being Pixar's first VR development. Coco was released for high-definition online streaming and digital download on February 13, 2018, and on DVD Blu-ray and 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray on February 27, 2018, by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment. The film made a revenue of $72.8 million from home video sales with 3.8 million units sold, making it the fourth best-selling title of 2018. A sing-along version of the film with on-screen lyrics was released onto Disney Plus on September 16, 2022. As part of Disney's 100th anniversary, Coco was re-released between September 15 to 28, 2023 in the United States and October 26, November 1 in Latin America, alongside Walt Disney Animation Studios' Moana. Box office Coco grossed $210.4 million in the United States and Canada, and $603.8 million in other countries, for a worldwide total of $814.3 million. Mexico Coco was released in Mexico on October 27, nearly 1 month prior to the United States. It grossed $9.3 million on its opening weekend, the biggest opening weekend for an original animated film, and the biggest debut for an animated film outside of the summer movie season in the market. In its second weekend, it earned another $10.8 million, a 12% increase over its first weekend, bringing its total to $28 million. It became the fastest 10-day grosser ever for an animated feature in Mexico, and the biggest original animated release ever in the territory. It dropped by 23% in its third weekend, grossing $8.4 million. That brought its total to $792 million, $41.4 million, making it the highest-grossing animated film and the second highest-grossing film of all time in Mexico, behind Marvel's The Avengers, in local currency. A few days later, on November 15th, it passed The Avengers to become the highest-grossing film in the Mexican market. United States and Canada. In the United States and Canada, Coco was projected to gross $55 to $65 million from 3,987 theaters in its first 5 days, including around $40 million in its opening weekend, 66. It made $2.3 million from Tuesday night previews, landing between Disney's previous 2 November releases Moana, $2.6 million, and The Good Dinosaur, $1.3 million, and $13.2 million on its first day. It went on to debut to $50.8 million, including a 5-day total of $72.9 million, finishing first at the box office. It was the 4th biggest Thanksgiving opening weekend ever, behind fellow animated films Frozen, Moana, and Toy Story 2. In its second weekend, the film dropped by 46% to $27.5 million, a smaller drop than Moana, Frozen, Tangled, and The Good Dinosaur, and again topping the box office. It topped the box office once again in its third weekend, dropping by 33% and grossing $18.5 million, a similar hold to Moana. It became the 4th film of 2017 to top the box office 3 times, following Split, The Fate of the Furious, and The Hitman's Bodyguard, before being overtaken by Disney's Star Wars: The Last Jedi and another animated film, Ferdinand, in its 4th weekend. It fell to number 6 in its 5th weekend, due to competition from 3 new releases: Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle, Pitch Perfect 3, and The Greatest Showman. Despite a small drop again, it grossed $2.8 million on Christmas Day. On the holiday week of December 22 to 28, the film finished at number 6 with a gross of $16.3 million, which was 6% up from the previous week, despite losing over 1,000 theaters. It finished at number 6 in its 6th weekend, going up 39% and 87%, respectively, during the 3-day and 4-day weekends. It grossed $2.6 million on New Year's Day. It fell outside the top 10 in its 8th weekend, which included Martin Luther King Jr. Day, dropping 38% and 14% respectively, during the 3-day and 4-day weekends. Other countries. In China, Coco finished number 1 at the weekend box office, with a 3-day total of $18.2 million, making it the second highest opening ever for a Disney or Pixar animated release in that market, behind Zootopia, 81. After seeing increases each weekday on its first week, the film increased by 148% on its second weekend, bringing its total to $75.6 million in the market. It dropped by 21% in its third weekend, finishing first once again and grossing $35 million. The film fell to number 3 in its 4th weekend, due to competition from 2 new domestic releases, grossing an additional $17.1 million. Coco's success in China came as a surprise to most box office analysts, who were projecting a gross of $30 to $40 million. By its second weekend, it had become the highest-grossing Pixar release ever in China, nearly doubling previous record holder Finding Dory, and by its 5th weekend, it had surpassed Despicable Me 3 to become the second highest-grossing animated movie of all time in the country, behind Zootopia. The movie was released in Japan, its final market, on March 16, 2018. As of May 1, 2018, the film's largest markets were China, $189.2 million, Mexico, $57.8 million, Japan, $41.4 million, France, $33.2 million, United Kingdom, $26.1 million, South Korea, $25.9 million, Spain, $21.4 million, Argentina, $17.6 million, Italy, $14.4 million, and Germany, $12.3 million. Critical response. Coco received critical acclaim. On the review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes, the film holds an approval rating of 97% based on 359 reviews, with an average rating of 8.3/10. The consensus reads, Coco's rich visual pleasures are matched by a thoughtful narrative that takes a family-friendly and deeply affecting approach to questions of culture, family, life, and death. On Metacritic, which assigns a normalized rating to reviews, the film has a weighted average score of 81 out of 100, based on 48 critics, indicating universal acclaim. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film a grade of A+ on an A+ to F scale, one of fewer than 90 films in the history of the service to receive such a score. It was also the sixth Pixar film to earn the rating, the previous being Up in 2009. 6. It also earned a 95% positive score, including a rare 5 out of 5 rating from filmgoers on PostTrack, along with a 76% definite recommend. Michael Rechtshafen of The Hollywood Reporter said, "At every imaginative juncture, the screenplay is credited to Pixar veteran Melina and Matthew Aldrich, create a richly woven tapestry of comprehensively researched storytelling, fully dimensional characters, clever touches, both tender and amusingly macabre, and vivid, beautifully textured visuals." Robert Abel of The Wrap praised the film, saying, "If an animated movie is going to offer children a way to process death, it's hard to envision a more spirited, touching, and breezily entertaining example than Coco." In his review for Variety, Peter DeBruge wrote, "In any case, it works. Coco's creators clearly had the perfect ending in mind before they'd nailed down all the other details, and though the movie drags in places and features a few too many childish gags, the story's sincere emotional resolution earns the sobs it's sure to inspire." DeBruge also described the film as an effective yet hardly exceptional addition to the Pixar oeuvre. Matt Zoller Seitz of RogerEbert.com gave the film 4 out of 4, writing that there's a touch of Japanese master Hayao Miyazaki in the film's matter-of-fact depiction of the dead interacting with the living, as well as its portrayal of certain creatures, such as Dante and Pepita. He concluded his review by stating, "I had some minor quibbles about Coco while I was watching it, but I can't remember what they were. This film is a classic." Peter Travers of Rolling Stone rated the film 3.5 out of 4, calling it a loving tribute to Mexican culture, while praising the animation, vocal performances, particularly of Gonzalez, García Bernal, and Bratt, and its emotional and thematic tone and depth. 99. The Chicago Tribune's Michael Phillips called the film vividly good, beautifully animated, praising Giacchino's musical score and the songs, as well as drawing a comparison to the emotional tone of Inside Out. A.O. Scott of the New York Times praised the film as a time-tested tune with captivating originality and flair, and with roving, playful pop culture erudition, and called the film's cultural vibe inclusive and a 21st-century Disney hallmark. Richard Roper of the Chicago Sun-Times found the film to be full of life, and deemed it a bouncy and heart-tugging adventure, while lauding the vocal performances as fantastic and first-rate. Brian Trude of USA Today described the film as effervescent, clever, and thoughtful, calling it one of Pixar's most gorgeously animated outings, and the most musical Pixar film, with a host of catchy tunes. Stephen Whitty of the Newark Star-Ledger wrote that the backgrounds have a vibrancy, and its atmosphere carries a warmth, and even after it's done, both linger, just a bit, like a perfectly struck guitar chord. Accolades. Main article, list of accolades received by Coco, 2017 film. At the 90th Academy Awards, Coco received awards for Best Animated Feature and Best Original Song. The film's other nominations include 13 Annie Awards, winning 11, a British Academy Film Award, which it won, 2 Critics' Choice Movie Awards, winning both, and 2 Golden Globe Awards, winning 1. Coco was chosen by the National Board of Review as the Best Animated Film of 2017. Controversy. In 2018, several Mexican news outlets reported Disney and Pixar had failed to disclose that the producers for Coco had based the character of Mama Coco on Maria de la Salud Ramirez Caballero from the Pura Pecha village of Santa Fe de la Laguna, a town of Pura Pecha potters in Quiroga, Michoacán. In a news interview, Salud stated that the producers offered me so many things, but nothing came of it. They only came and took my picture and took it with them. They asked me what I need. Well, look at how I live and alone. My daughters live here, behind the house, and I'm here alone. That's what I have. In a report by Telemundo, residents and artisans of Santa Fe de la Laguna recognize that the attention Salud has received from people throughout the world has increased tourism for the town. Gabriel Fabian, a potter of the town, noted, "It has benefited us because many more tourists come. This town is known because of the lady's fame. They buy our artwork, everything we do, and figures of her." While the production team at Disney and Pixar have recognized that they based the Rivera family, a multi-generational matriarchy headed by Miguel's formidable grandmother, on real-world families with whom they embedded while visiting the Mexican states of Oaxaca and Guanajuato between 2011 and 2013, they have not acknowledged Salud's contribution to the film. Co-director Adrian Molina stated, "Not only is Coco based in a real place, in Mexico, but it's based in real traditions. So we knew it was very important to do the research, to get every detail recorded, so that when we get back to Pixar and we start deciding what is this town going to look like, what is this grandmother going to wear, what kind of dancing and music are they going to listen to, it can all come from an informed place." However, Salud remains unmentioned in all reports Disney and Pixar have made regarding the inspiration for the film. Since the film's release, Salud reported that tourists have visited her home, referring to her as Mama Coco. In response, she replied, "Yes, but Mama Coco is not my name. The producers chose that name, and now all the people who come and visit tell us that's my name. But I tell them no, it's not my name. My name is Maria de la Salud." Before the film's release, Salud was diagnosed with chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD, and depended on oxygen tanks to breathe. Salud's family had expressed that they aren't looking to receive royalties or money, despite her need to recharge her oxygen tank every 2 days. However, they asked that the company acknowledge her contribution to the film, which has yet to occur. Salud died on October 16, 2022, aged 109. Theme park attractions. Miguel appears in Frontierland at Disneyland as a meet-and-greet character, and he also appears in the park's Magic Happens parade. In addition, a ride themed to the film is in development for Disney California Adventure, with construction scheduled to start in 2026. Broadway adaptation. On January 24, 2023, during Epcot's annual Disney on Broadway concert, the Lion King actor Steven Taylor announced that a live stage show adaptation of the film is currently in development at Disney Theatrical Productions. See also, The Book of Life, a 2014 animated film featuring a Mexican-style realm of the dead. List of films set around Halloween. Coco is the sprightly story of a young boy who wants to be a musician and somehow finds himself communing with talking skeletons in the land of the dead. Directed by Unkrich, Toy Story 3, and veteran Pixar animator Adrian Molina, and drawing heavily on Mexican folklore and traditional designs, it has catchy music, a complex but comprehensible plot, and bits of domestic comedy and media satire. Most of the time, the movie is a knockabout slapstick comedy with a back-to-the-future feeling, staging grand action sequences and feeding audiences new plot information every few minutes. But of course, being a Pixar film, Coco is also building toward emotionally overwhelming moments. So stealthily that you may be surprised to find yourself wiping away a tear, even though the studio has been using the sneak attack playbook for decades. The film's hero, 12-year-old Miguel Riviera, voiced by Anthony Gonzalez, lives in the small town of Santa Cecilia. He's a good-hearted child who loves to play guitar and idolizes the greatest popular singer-songwriter of the 1920s and 30s, Ernesto de la Cruz, Benjamin Bratt, who was killed when a huge church bell fell on his head. But Miguel has to busk in secret because his family has banned its members from performing music ever since Miguel's great-great-grandfather left, abandoning his loved ones to selfishly pursue his dreams of stardom. At least that's the official story passed down through the generations. It'll be challenged as the film unfolds, not through a traditional detective story, although there's a mystery element to Coco, but through an Alice in Wonderland journey to the land of the dead, which the hero accesses through the tomb of his ancestors. Family and legacy as expressed through storytelling and song. This is the deeper preoccupation of Coco. One of the most fascinating things about the movie is the way it builds its plot around members of Miguel's family, living and dead. As they battle to determine the official narrative of Miguel's great-great-grandfather and what his disappearance from the narrative meant for the extended clan. The title character is the hero's great-grandmother, Renee Victor, who was traumatized by her dad's disappearance. In her old age, she has become a nearly silent presence, sitting in the corner and staring blankly ahead, as if hypnotized by a sweet old film perpetually unreeling in her mind. The machinations that get Miguel to the other side are too complicated to explain in a review, though they're comprehensible as you watch the movie. Suffice to say that Miguel gets there, teams up with a melancholy goofball named Hector, Gael García Bernal, and has to pose as one of the dead with the aid of skeletal face paint. But that, like Marty McFly returning to the 1950s to make sure his mom ends up with his dad in future, the longer Miguel stays on the other side, the more likely he is to end up actually dead. I'm reluctant to describe the film's plot in too much detail because, even though every twist seems obvious in retrospect, Molina and Matthew Aldrich's script frames each one so that seems delightful and inevitable. Many of them are conveyed through a stolen family photograph that Miguel brings with him to the land of the dead. The deployment of the photo is a great example of how to tell a story through pictures, or more accurately, with a picture. Somebody's face has been torn out. There's a guitar that proves to be important later, and there are other ways in which visual information has been withheld from Miguel and us, so that it can be revealed or restored when the time is right, completing and correcting an incomplete or distorted picture and picture. What's freshest, though, is the tone and outlook of the film. Coco opened in Mexico a month before it opened in the USA and is already the highest-grossing film of all time there. It assumes a non-American point of view on spirituality and culture. Not in a touristy or thought experiment sort of way, but as if it were merely the latest product of an alternate universe Pixar Mexicano that has existed for just as long as the other one. The film's stable of voice actors reads like a who's who of Latin American talent. The ensemble includes Edward James Olmos, Alfonso Arau, Ana Ofelia Murguia, Alana Ubach, and, in a small role, to my surprise and astonishment, playwright Octavio Solis, who was one of my teachers in high school, back in Dallas. Michael Giacchino's score is unsurprisingly excellent, as are the original songs, in particular, the future Oscar winner, Remember Me, the greatest tear eruption mechanism to accompany a Pixar release since the Toy Story 2 centerpiece, When She Loved Me. Like most Pixar productions, this one is filled with homages to film history in general, and animation history in particular. I was especially fond of the references to the dancing skeletons that seem to pop up constantly in cartoon shorts from the 1930s. There's a touch of Japanese master Hayao Miyazaki in the film's matter-of-fact depiction of the dead interacting with the living, as well as its portrayal of certain creatures, such as a goofy, goggle-eyed dog named Dante, modeled on Xoloitzcuintli, the national dog of Mexico, and a gigantic flying dragon-type beast with the personality of a plump old house cat. Also notable are the film's widescreen compositions, which put lots of characters in the same frame and shoot them from the waist up or from head to toe, in the manner of old musicals or Hollywood comedies from the 80s like 9 to 5 or Tootsie. The direction lets you appreciate how the characters interact with each other and with their environments, and lets you decide what to look at. At first, this approach seems counterintuitive for a movie filled with fantastic creatures, structures, and situations, but it ends up being effective for that very reason. It makes you feel as though you're seeing a record of things that are actually happening, and it makes Coco feel gentle and unassuming, even though it's a big, brash, loud film. I had some minor quibbles about Coco while I was watching it, but I can't remember what they were. This film is a classic. Seize your moment. Pixar Animation Studios has been hailed as one of the premier animated studios in all of Hollywood. Known for their popular big hits like Toy Story, The Incredibles, Monsters, Inc., Up, and Inside Out, Pixar has gained the reputation for its high quality of cartoon feature films that have gone beyond the standard status quo of children's animated movies. From its gorgeous and intricately detailed animation to the colorful cast of characters, to its thematically and heartwarming signature of a story and/or messages, Pixar has proven that, time and time again, that their animated features, while aimed for kids, are wholesome entertainment for both the young and the young at heart. Unfortunately, while Pixar's creativity has always been fascinated and well-founded with each and every film they release, the past decade has seen the studio return to its popular hits and use them as brands. For follow-up sequels with films like Toy Story 3, Monsters University, Finding Dory, and most recently with Cars 3. While there's nothing terrible wrong with this, finding many of these features to be well-received by critics and moviegoers, it somewhat dulls the sharp originality that made Pixar what stand out from its competition. Now set to release its second 2017 film, Pixar Animation, in association with Walt Disney and director Lee Unkrich, as well as co-director Adrian Molina, present the 19th feature film from the powerhouse studio with the movie Coco. Does this newest Pixar film find a home within its illustrious predecessors, or does it falter in capturing the studio's signature magic? The story. 12-year-old Miguel Rivera, Anthony Gonzalez, is descendant from a family of shoemakers but has not desired to partake in the family business. Instead, Miguel's desire of becoming a musician, following in the footsteps of his idol, the widely celebrated musical performer Ernesto de la Cruz, Benjamin Bratt. Unfortunately, Miguel's dreams are quickly silenced by his family's long-standing ban on music that has been passed down through the generations. A story that began when Miguel's great-great-grandfather, a musician, abandoned his family to follow his dreams, leaving his wife, Mama Imelda, Alana Ubach, to raise Miguel's great-grandmother, Mama Coco, Ana Ofelia Murguia, on her own. As the Dia de los Muertos festival arrives, Miguel's family, with his grandmother Abuelita, Renee Victor, as the head of the Rivera family, soon discovers that he's been secretly idolizing Ernesto and teaching himself how to play the guitar, forbidding the young boy from pursuing a career as a musician. In an attempt to prove himself to them and to the world, Miguel steals the Ernesto's famous guitar and accidentally transports himself to the land of the dead. As the Dia de los Muertos festival arrives, Miguel's family, with his grandmother Abuelita, Renee Victor, as the head of the Rivera family, soon discovers that he's been secretly idolizing Ernesto and teaching himself how to play the guitar, forbidding the young boy from pursuing a career as a musician. In an attempt to prove himself to them and to the world, Miguel steals the Ernesto's famous guitar and accidentally transports himself to the land of the dead. Though Miguel meets his deceased ancestors, they too still don't understand Miguel's passion for music, and he sets out to search for Ernesto, with the help of the charming con man Hector, Gael García Bernal, who needs the boy's help in order to visit the land of the living. However, Miguel, who comes face to face with the hard truth about his family's grudge for music, must find a way home before sunrise, which makes the end of Dia de los Muertos, or else he'll be trapped in the land of the dead forever. The good, the bad. What can I say? I love Pixar movies. Yes, I do have a natural affinity towards animated movies, but the ones underneath the Pixar banner are some of my favorite. I mean, simply attaching the Pixar name to an animated feature gives it that type of prestige quality that you know it's going to a beautifully crafted and poignant cartoon movie. As the old saying goes, the proof is in the pudding. As the Pixar has garnished quite a reputation as being one of the premier animation studios, each one carrying a certain signature pedigree that the studio is widely known for, with movies like Toy Story, Finding Nemo, Monsters, Inc., and Inside Out are some of my personal favorite Pixar films. Also, as stated above, I do enjoy some of their animated shorts, which usually are attached to their movies' releases, usually showing before the feature. That being said, Pixar has circled back around several times to familiar territory, creating sequels to already established films rather than crafting new, original animated tales. This has caused many to question if that the prolific animation studio has, as the saying goes, run out of ideas. Still, Pixar continues to be one of the most celebrated studios in children's animated film entertainment. This, of course, brings it all back to my review for Coco, Pixar's newest movie release. After their 2016 release of The Good Dinosaur, a film that was on the weaker side, I thought that Pixar was starting to lose its edge. But seeing Cars 3, their first of two releases in 2017, brought their interest back to heart and on point. This is especially noted as the Cars movie, as a whole, are typically cited as one of the more weaker films of Pixar's catalog, finding Cars 3 to end more on a high note rather than a low one. So Coco, their second movie release in 2017, was pretty much hyped up for most of the year, with various movie trailers being promoted throughout. Seeing them many times in my weekly movie theater outings got me really interested, especially in the film's animation. However, I did have some reservations about Coco, which, on the surface, that looked like a bit similar to 2014's The Book of Life, an animated tale that talked about Dia de los Muertos, as well as a character venturing to the land of the dead and meeting his ancestors. Still, I was definitely curious and hyped to see Coco. So, what did I think of Pixar's 19th animated feature? I loved it. While there are some minor hiccups along the way, Coco is a heartwarming story about family and a beautifully crafted coming-of-age tale that's molded in Pixar's traditions and in Mexico's Dia de los Muertos. In short, Coco is not just a great animated for just Pixar, but for the 2017 as well. Coco is directed by Unkrich, who's previously directed Pixar's Toy Story 3, as well as co-directing other Pixar films such as Monsters, Inc. and Finding Nemo. Additionally, Unkrich gets help with Adrian Molina, who has worked on several Pixar features like Monsters University, story artist, and The Good Dinosaur, screenplay writer. Together, both Unkrich and Molina helm Coco and navigate the feature tale of Miguel's journey from start to finish. To their credit, both succeed in their endeavors, with this movie being a crowning achievement to both Pixar veterans. Coco's story, which was penned by Unkrich and Molina, as well as Jason Katz and Matthew Aldrich, is a mixture of the familiar and originality. As a whole, Miguel's adventure is your typical hero's journey, coming-of-age tale, hitting all the right beats of important life lessons about himself and about his situation. Additionally, the motivations behind Miguel's decisions, i.e. to follow his dreams and not feeling understood by his family, are universal to everyone, both in real life and in the cinematic world of storytelling. Using that idea to springboard off of and to start the feature, as well as to anchor the narrative the film in its entirety for an emotional and satisfying arc resolution in the third act. While it may sound conventional to some, especially for being a kids' animated film, there are plenty of new elements in Coco to make the film feel fresher than most. This includes the movie being rooted in a Mexican influence, which offers a new story perspective outline for Pixar Animated Studios to present in one of their feature films. Interestingly, Unkrich and Molina don't just make Coco have a Latin-flavored setting and nuances, but rather fully embrace its Mexican culture. This is most prevalent in the film's usage of the Spanish language and the depictions of both Dia de los Muertos celebration, respecting your ancestors and the like, and in the land of the dead, rules of the afterlife and spurt animals. Also, the passion art of music, singing and instruments are also highlighted in the feature, which plays a big part in the film's story as well as in the Latin culture. Even the film's message of self-identity versus the identity of one's family is placed in full view of Miguel's journey story arc in the film. This, of course, plays a paramount importance in Coco and speaks to Pixar's signature style of presenting an animated tale with the right amount of emotion and depth behind it. In truth, Coco, like Inside Out, feels the most human of Pixar's animated movies, as the movie's emotionally beats feel natural and genuine and never manufactured, a problem I had with The Good Dinosaur. I wouldn't be surprised if some viewers might shed a tear or two by the time the end credits begin to roll. So, even though I couldn't get the Book of Life film out of my head while watching this movie, Coco makes itself stand out with one foot in familiarity and the other in its own originality. On a technical filmmaking level, Coco shines brilliantly. The expansive world that the story plays out in is beautifully animated. The contrast of the quaint Mexican/Latin village motif in the land of the living to the more fantastical and vibrant setting in the land of the dead is something to behold. And the cinematography, which was done by Matt Asbury and Danielle Feinberg, is quite exceptionally for an animated movie. especially when Miguel first enters the land of the dead. Even the animation quality for the movie is top-notch, as all the colors look brightly and are intricately detailed. Last year, Disney pushed the animation level with Moana, but Pixar pushes the boundaries of animation to a whole new level with Coco. Even character body movement from walking to slight hand gestures on a guitar are almost fluid enough to be mistaken to be for real life. This just proves that Pixar is still one of the premier animated studios out there, with its visual flair of CGI cartoon rendering. Lastly, since the art of music is important in Coco, the film's musical score, which was composed by Michael Giacchino, plays as an instrumental piece to the feature, and like most of the movie, is rooted with Spanish style of music, as well as the strong representations of flourish, sweeps, and melodies that usually accompany a Pixar film. Unfortunately, Coco doesn't walk away completely unscathed from criticism. Despite its positives and overall likability, I did have one or two minor nitpicks with Pixar's newest film. The first one is that the movie is a little deep at some points. Yes, I do know that Pixar movies usually have more depth and emotion than most other animated features out there, but there are some dark undertone elements here and there that may not be for the very young moviegoers out there. The next one is that the film's big twist revelation, which is made pretty obvious, as I guessed it somewhere in the first act, and sure enough, my guesstimation was indeed correct. Thus, it kind of dilutes the overall surprise of it all when it actually does happen. In truth, it's a little on the nose on how it's presented, as I guessed many out there will see it coming in and around the same time I did. Again, these are just merely minor nitpicks I had with Coco, as these really didn't distract much from my overall enjoyment of the feature. The voice talent selection for Coco is also another positive for the film, especially found in the three main characters that are presented, Miguel, Hector, and Ernesto de la Cruz, who are voiced by Anthony Gonzalez, Gael García Bernal, and Benjamin Bratt, respectively. Acting as the true main protagonist of the movie, Gonzalez, known for his roles in Imagination of Young and Icebox, is absolutely perfect as Miguel, imbuing the character with enough sincerity and heart to make him quite endearing to root for throughout his journey. Additionally, Gonzalez, who is mostly a relatively unknown actor, displays a lot of range of emotions for Miguel, i.e., nervous, comical, sad, etc., for such a young actor, which definitely adds to the character in both vocal terms and in character development. To simply put it, Gonzalez is one of the best parts of Coco, plain and simple. Also, Miguel's faithful canine companion, Dante, is both hilarious and endearing throughout the movie. Aiding Gonzalez's Miguel for most of the feature is the character of Hector, a charming trickster in the land of the dead, who is voiced by actor Gael García Bernal. Known for his roles in The Motorcycle Diaries, Mozart in the Jungle, and Letters to Juliet, Bernal is fantastic as Hector, giving the undead Spurt a sort of rapscallion persona with a nice balance of charm and insecurity, but also some richer dramatic character moments that are presented as well. Additionally, Bernal lends weight and distinction to Hector's voice, as if he's seasoned veteran to voiceover work, which also makes Hector a very dynamic companion character for the film's hero, Miguel, and for himself. Together, both Gonzalez and Bernal do exceptional work in their own respective characters in Coco, but also in their on-screen chemistry with each other, which might sound strange, especially since this is an animated movie. But Miguel and Hector are great with the film focuses on them. Round out the main principal cast is the character of Ernesto de la Cruz, the famous musician that Miguel idolizes, and that he must find on his journey through the land of the dead, who is voiced by actor Benjamin Bratt. Known for his roles in Law and Order, Despicable Me 2, and Miss Congeniality, Bratt is the big-ticketed voice actor on this feature, and does give a sense of seasoned gravitas in how he voices Ernesto, using his smooth-talking voice and charm to give the character the necessary star power bravado one would expect from a celebrity, in both the land of the living and in the land of the dead. Like the other two, Bratt is solid in his roles as Ernesto. While those three characters are main principal figureheads of the feature, there are a few supporting characters that make up importance in Coco's overall narrative. This includes Renee Victor, Weeds and Paranormal Activity, the marked ones, as Miguel's grandmother, Abuelita Elena, Alana Ubach, Girlfriend's Guide to Divorce, and Meet the Fockers, as Miguel's late great-great-grandmother, Mama Imelda, and Ana Ofelia Murguia, written on the body of Night and Banditas, as Miguel's great-grandmother, Mama Coco. These characters, though supporting ones, are presented as vital piece to the Miguel's journey in Coco, and each one is developed enough for us, the viewers, to care about them. Other noteworthy voice talents, including Alfonso Arau, romancing the Stone and Three Amigos, Papa Julio, Miguel's late great-grandfather and Coco's husband, Diana Ortelli, American Me and La Bamba, as Tia Victoria, Miguel's late aunt, Abuelita's sister, Herbert Seguenza, Larry Crown and Mission Hill, as Tio Felipe and Tio Oscar, Imelda's late twin brothers, Jaime Camille, Jane the Virgin and the Prettiest Ugly Girl, as Papa Enrique, Miguel's father, and Sofia Espinosa, Gloria and the Girl on the Stone, as Mama Luisa, Miguel's mother, provide solid voice acting bits and perform their parts in the film's narrative, but could have been expanded on a bit more to fully flesh them out. This is one of the problems with Coco, as there are too many supporting characters for everyone to be well-rounded. Also, there are few cameo-like character appearances that are provided voice actors from Gabriel Iglesias, Magic Mike XXL, and The Star, Edward James Olmos, Battlestar Galactica and Blade Runner, Cheech Marin, Nash Bridges and Desperado, and John Ratzenberger, Cheers and all Pixar films releases. Lastly, as per the standard custom of a Pixar's filmed theatrical release, an animated short is attached before Coco's proceedings. To much celebration, the short is actually a short from Disney's 2013 Frozen, which is titled Olaf's Frozen Adventure. The short, which was directed by Kevin Dieters and Stevie Wermers, tells the story of everyone's favorite snowman, Olaf, as he tries to find the Christmas holiday traditions in the Kingdom of Arendelle for Princess Anna and Queen Elsa. Like the original 2013 film and the first Frozen animated short, Frozen Fever, the animation is wonderful with all the original voice talents, i.e. Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, Jonathan Groff, and Josh Gad, and several brand new songs to be sung. Additionally, this animated short is actually quite long, with a runtime of 21 minutes long, which I was very surprised, but I loved every second of it. All in all, Olaf's Frozen Adventure was a terrific animated short, as it was fun to revisit the Kingdom Arendelle and all of its lively inhabitants that live there. I can't wait to see Frozen 2. Final thoughts. Miguel journeys to the land of the dead, meeting his ancestors and discovering more about his family's history, as well as himself, in the movie Coco. Director Lee Unkrich and co-director Adrian Molina present the 19th animated film for Pixar Animated Studio, infusing their signature style into a heartwarming tale about family and music. While there are a few minor nitpicks about the movie, Coco is a fantastic addition to Pixar's film library, offering up incredible colorful animation, solid voice talents, and a touching story that can resonate with everyone. Personally, I loved this movie. It had everything I expected a Pixar movie to have, but the film exceeded my expectations, with plenty to like and then some. Thus, it goes without saying that I would give my highly recommended stamp of approval to Coco, to be seen by all, as it offers something that's both beautiful and entertaining at the same time. And that's a good thing for an animated movie to achieve. While Incredibles 2, Pixar's 20th and upcoming 2018 release, brings the studio back to its franchise brand roots, Coco stands tall and proud as a Pixar classic masterpiece, proving that the animation studios still reign supreme in children's cartoon feature films, and that their original ideas are just as strong as ever. In short, Pixar, via its release of Coco, seizes its own moment. Produced by Darla Canderson, starring Anthony Gonzalez, Gael García Bernal, Benjamin Bratt, Pyub, Renee Victor, Anna Opiliamgia, Edward James Solos, Cinematography Matisse, Danielle Feinberg, edited by Sibla, music by Michael Gino, production company Pixar Animation Studios, distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures, release dates October 20, 2017 in Morlia, November 22, 2017 in United States, running time 105 minutes, country United States, language English, budget $175 to $225 million, box office $84.6 million. So guys, this is their view of Coco movie and some information about it. How do you like our today's video? Please let us know by commenting, and if you like this video, please like it, share it, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thanks for watching.